So we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are reading from the introduction. Yesterday we were hearing that how Krishna was saying that whoever remembers him while quitting this body does not need to come back to the material world again. He's liberated. So we continue reading. The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. We do this. A man dies after it has been decided what form of body he will have in the next life. Higher authorities, not the living entity himself, make this decision. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is a preparation for the next life. So our destiny is in our hands. We have the choice. What body do we want in the next life? Do we want to have another body? Or do we want to finish this cycle of birth and death and get a spiritual body? The choice is ours. This life is a preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this material body, we will attain a spiritual body, just like the Lord's. So if it's in our hands that what kind of body we will take in the next life, so let us try to get the best body, and that's a spiritual body. You know, that's our true position. Once we are in the true position, we don't need to keep changing. You know, then our desire is already, because we are in our natural position, there is no other hankering, there's no lamentation, there is no desire to do anything else, you know. Like once we come back home from a long journey, then we just relax. We are so happy to be back home, you know, just content to be back home. Similarly, once we go back home, we'll be happy. No need to come back to this material world. As explained before, there are three different kinds of transcendentalists: the Brahmavadi, Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. And as mentioned, in the Brahma Jyoti spiritual sky, there are innumerable spiritual planets. So there are different kind of transcendentalists. Those who want to, you know, who have knowledge of what is material and what is spiritual. There are three. Those who are trying to have a higher understanding and understand what's our position. Who am I? Am I that I'm the soul? So there are three kinds. One is the Brahmavadi, the Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. So the Brahmavadi is the one who has realized God in his impersonal feature as the light. The Paramatmavadi is the transcendentalist who's realized God in his feature as the Paramatma in everyone's heart. And the devotee is one who is attracted by Swayam Bhagavan, the personal feature of the Lord. All three features belong to the Lord, or to the Supreme Absolute Truth. The number of these planets is far, far greater than, okay, and then, as mentioned in the Brahma Jyoti, there are innumerable spiritual planets. So everything is resting on the Brahma Jyoti. Even the spiritual world and even the material world is resting on the Brahma Jyoti. There is no one space where the Brahma Jyoti does not expand to. Then we can say, oh, if this material world is also Brahma Jyoti, then why it's not self-illuminating? Because Brahma Jyoti is self-illuminating. Because of our desires that we want to forget Krishna, Krishna covers one small portion of this Brahma Jyoti with a dark cloud called the Mahatattva, puts all the material ingredients there, and the material ingredients don't have light. And that's where the creation takes place. But everything is resting on the Brahman. Everything is resting on the Brahma Jyoti. And then the spiritual planets, the planets which are not inside this dark space, the material world, they are far, far greater than all of the planets in this material world. This material world has been approximated as only 1/4 of the creation. Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes. with trillions of planets and suns, stars and moons. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. So this material world that we are so baffled with, that we are not able to understand its working and the intricacies. We don't know how many planets are there in this universe. And then there are millions and billions of universes. We don't even know. But all these things, Krishna says, is just a fragment of my energy. I'm sustaining it just by a fragment of my energy. Most of the creation is the spiritual sky. Those who desire to merge into the existence of the Supreme Brahman is at once transferred to the Brahma Jyoti of the Supreme Lord and thus attains the spiritual sky. So the Brahmavadi, because they desire that I want to merge into the light which is coming from the body of Krishna, so that's where they go. They at once they enter into the Brahman. They enter into the Brahma Jyoti. The devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets, which are innumerable, and the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansions as Narayana, with 4 hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Anirudh, and Govinda, associates with him there. So, where does the devotee go? The devotee desires that he wants to have association with the Supreme Lord. He wants to enjoy. He wants to enjoy in the association of the Lord. And so he goes to the Vaikuntha planets, not in this material world, in the spiritual world. And in each of this planet, there are Krishna's expansions. Krishna has unlimited expansions. And some of the expansions are called here plenary expansions, Narayana expansions with 4 hands. So some of them are mentioned, Pradyumna, Anirudh, Govinda. Therefore, at the end of life, the transcendentalists think either of the Brahma Jyoti, the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So it just depends which kind of transcendentalist we are, that kind of a destination we will achieve. In all cases, they enter into the spiritual sky, but only the devotee or he who is in personal touch with the Supreme Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets or the Goloka Vrindavan planet. So it just depends on each person's choice where they want to go. So if we desire to associate with the Supreme Lord, then we can. By engaging in devotional service, we can go to the Vaikuntha planet and have a loving relationship with him. There's everyone there, there are devotees there. There's birds and there's flowers and there's trees and there's rivers and there's animals. Everything is there in the spiritual world. So it just depends where do we want to go. The Lord further adds that of this there is no doubt. This must be believed firmly. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. So now Krishna is saying that you will come to me without a doubt. One who is always thinking of me, who quits his body thinking of me alone, comes to me without a doubt. Now we might say, oh, can I trust Krishna's words though? Should I trust? But then that means we are trusting our mind, our own imagination. But our mind is so material, it's so limited. What do we know? How much knowledge do we actually have? So our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. So we should hear submissively from Krishna, try to understand what he's saying and believe what Krishna is saying. Because if we were to believe ourselves, then where will we reach? If we say, no, because I can't see it, or if my friends didn't tell me, or if my community leader didn't tell me this, I didn't hear about it before. But then again, we are all basing everything on I and my experience. But what is the value of our experience, How much knowledge can we gain with that? And it's very imperfect. It's so imperfect, our experience, that we might hear two people over speaking and we will come to a totally different conclusion, you know. But if we ask that person, then we will have the correct answer. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him as Brahman or Paramatma or as the personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky. There is no doubt about it. There is no question of disbelieving it. So it's our choice, of course. But if we take up Krishna's proposition, we can put an end to this birth and death. The Bhagavad Gita 8.6 also explains the general principle that makes it possible to enter the spiritual kingdom simply by thinking of the Supreme at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his present body, in his next life he will attain to that state without fail. Now, first, we must understand that material nature is a display of one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is saying that whatever you think of, you will attain to that stage. So then we might say, oh, but if I think of Krishna, Krishna has a body. And then in our experience, anything which has a body, a form, you know, because Krishna has a form, and in our experience, form means a body, material body means it's frustration, it's attachment, I need to give it up. Then I cannot think of Krishna. But Krishna is transcendental. He's not material. That's not material. He's transcendental. So if we think of Krishna, we will also get a transcendental form, our original form. So, are there any questions, comments till now, whatever we have read?
No, all good.
Yeah. So,
as you mentioned, I just wanted to ask, as you mentioned, that people think that because Krishna is human, and so are there people who think like that?
oh yes, of course. Of course, because we don't understand Krishna's position, you know. So we think, he's like an ordinary person. Why should I be attached to him? Why should I understand what his activities were? He's just, a great king. Maybe he existed, maybe he didn't exist, maybe it's mythology. You know, in schools we are taught that way, right? Or maybe he was just a mythology it's called. Or maybe, or even if he existed, maybe he's just a great king with some powers. You know, he's just like us. What's so big deal? Why should I remember about him? Because we do not understand his position. We think he is us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the reason Sukadev Goswami in the first canto, he's beginning with trying to give us the foundation. Who's the Supreme Lord? Although Parikshit Maharaj has only 7 days to live, and he wanted to hear about the personal pastimes of the Lord. He wanted to absorb himself in the personal pastimes of Krishna. But Parikshit Maharaj asks everything, beginning from creation, beginning from everything, so that for our benefit, so we can understand that, oh wow, Krishna is not ordinary person that we are thinking he is. You know, he's the Supreme Lord. And what does it mean to be a Supreme Lord? That so we can try to understand a bit from him. We say, yeah, God, God. Even though we say God, we think God is like us, or that God is us. You know? So that's the reason we are repeatedly being explained this, so that we can try to understand. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's stop here for today. Thank you so much for joining in. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shilpa ki jai, Gaur Vrinda ki jai, Vrinda ki jai.